Do you find yourself wallowing in pain, stuck, and ruminating? There's an alternative path. Don't waste your pain. Grow from it.
Tell me more.
Welcome back to Tell Me More with me, CJ Quarterbaum. We exist to tackle some of the problems that exist within intergenerational workplace dynamics. I've mentored, led, taught, managed over 500 members of Gen Z. So let me help you with some of the issues that you face. One of those issues we find is this need for post-traumatic growth within Gen Z. I'll start with the story. There's a lot of debate about who is the GOAT in basketball. And really that argument comes down to two people, LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Now, if you're one of those people watching this and you think it's not even a conversation, I can't take your basketball opinion seriously, and so I want you to keep watching the video, but I'm gonna need you to exit stage left for this part of the conversation. No, actually, I'm just gonna focus on Michael Jordan right now. Michael Jordan, famous, one of the most famous athletes in the world. We know his exploits: 6 NBA finals, 6 championships, 6 MVPs, multiple time defensive player of the year, multiple time all-star, multiple time first team all defense, on and on and on. I think he's number 3 or 4 in the all-time scoring list. You keep going and his career stands alone. What we don't often talk about though are the first 7 years of Jordan's career. In those first 7 years of Jordan's career, he didn't make the finals. In fact, he kept getting bounced out by the bad boy Pistons. Now, if you don't know about the bad boy Pistons, this is the team that won the NBA championship in, I want to say it was like 88 and 90. This was the team with heavy hitters on it: Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Bill Laimbeer, and they earned that name, bad boy. They were known for their rough style of play. I'm talking you going up for a layup and you're getting clotheslined in midair. You got guys who this was back when you could, they'd get in fights every game in the NBA. It was insane. But this team had a particular set of rules for young Michael Jordan. See, young MJ hit the ground running, averaging 30, 40 points a game, killing everybody in his path. At one point early in his career, he scored 63 points against Larry Bird and the Pistons in the playoffs, which made Larry Bird say, man, that was Jesus dressed as Michael Jordan. So the bad boy Pistons had a rule: no easy buckets. The Jordan rules: if he was coming down that lane, you were taking him out. You were gonna make it a long, hard night for him. All right? So fed up with the losses and with getting beat up, Jordan said, you know what I need to do? I need to hit the gym. So that offseason, Jordan hits the gym, and this was novel at the time. Like, players back then would drink beer at halftime. They weren't up on nutrition. A ton of guys smoked cigarettes. See, this is my childhood. So this is back when you walk in a restaurant and there was a smoking section and a non-smoking section, and Plains also had that. But whatever. Jordan hits the gym, puts on a ton of muscle. He realized that to endure the beating he was going to face, he was going to need a little extra weight on him. And so he did that. And he came back and he vanquished the Pistons. And the rest is history. 91, 92, 93, 96, 97, 98, 6 rings. See, Jordan was tired of losing. He was tired of getting beat up on. He was tired of seeing the same people over and over and not being able to get over the hump. Jordan gives us one of our first lessons in post-traumatic growth. Instead of sulking and pouting and quitting, Jordan sought improvement. A couple of months ago, you might remember the conversation I had with Dr. Joe Dillenbeck on post-traumatic growth. This is a skill that allows us to look at pain, to look at frustration, to look at any brokenness we might feel and experience and say, how can I grow from this? What are the lessons I can learn? And I think for Gen Z in particular, it is learning how to have this skill. It is learning how to grow from pain and trauma that is going to carry them through life. Trauma is inevitable, but it doesn't have to define us. And I think this is crucial for Gen Z to understand. In my experience with them, what often happens is they become defined by their trauma, defined by the mess, defined by the brokenness, by the hard relationships. And it often becomes this thing that cripples them and they don't know what to do moving forward. But what I say to them often is you are not experiencing anything that is new and novel in human history. And if this is true, and other generations have survived, so can you. This isn't to trivialize their pain. Hard relationships happen. Job loss happens. Rejection happens. This is just a part of life. But for some reason with Gen Z, these things often pile up and make them want to tap out. And I am here to say that as the adults in the room, helping to lead these other adults, we can show them that they can grow from these things. See, post-traumatic growth isn't about just moving on and forgetting what happened. It's about building resiliency and grit. It's about saying, yes, this thing I went through was hard. And yes, I feel like it should have broken me. And yet it did not. And not only did it not break me, but I learned from it and I got better from it. I got back and I retooled. I hit the gym and I added the weight that I needed to add so that the next time I come up against this thing, I'm better equipped for it. For Gen Z, the path to resilience is going to be built through patience. It is going to be built through slowly over time, learning to build capacity to deal with the hard things of life. Patience is not fun. I suck at patience. I want it and I want it now. I don't want to have to wait. Give me the express option. But unfortunately, growth is slow and cumbersome, and post-traumatic growth requires time. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in life is that life goes on. The things that we fret about and we're upset about and seem world bending right now in this moment, oftentimes we're not even thinking about it 5 years from now. Oftentimes we look back and we say to ourselves, I can't believe that sent my world into a tailspin. For Gen Z, this is what I want you to see, is that life goes on. I want you to see that you can have the difficult conversation. You can get rejected by the job. You can lose the relationship. You can get a bad grade and not only survive, but thrive. You can continue to be a full person. You can continue to put the best version of yourself out there in the world, because one loss, one pain, one traumatic moment does not define you. It doesn't define your whole world. Most of the time, what we experience is a comma, not a period. And when we look back, a lot of these things just become a footnote in the story of our lives. Now, in order to get where you want to be, we have to understand the importance of introspection and a growth mindset. Building resiliency isn't about getting over it. It's about asking the question, what can I learn from this? There was a period of my life that I can only describe as one of profound rejection. I spent 5 straight years looking for a job. 5 straight years of applications, 5 straight years of interviews, 5 straight years of constantly making it to the point of being one of 2 or 3 finalists, only to be told, actually, we want the person who has a bit more direct experience, or just being told I didn't get the job. 5 straight years of, and it was only a handful, but turning down some jobs because the salary was too low or it wasn't a good culture fit. And I cannot tell you how despondent and dejected I was in this time. Because the only way I could sum it up was with the words, we don't want you. In this same 5-year period, I went out on a limb and I applied to 10 PhD programs and got rejected by every single one of them. We don't want you. And what was hardest about this time wasn't even all of that rejection. That was hard. But it was all the conversations I had along the way with people who would say, CJ, we think you are so great. CJ, if I had the money, I would hire you right away. CJ, I love who you are and what you're about and what you do. I just don't have a space for you. Do you know how that kind of messes with someone's brain? To on one hand be hearing, you're so great, we love you, we just don't have a space for you. And on the other end, it's going, well, if you love me so much and all these people love me so much, then why is it no one over here will take the chance on me? If I am my most honest, I felt dejected. I felt like a loser. I just didn't understand. My self-esteem tanked. I forget value and worth. I thought I had none because every bit of objective data I got outside of me said that I didn't. But there was an opportunity there. And that is where post-traumatic growth comes in. Because I could have wallowed in that moment, which I did for a long time. But I also chose to learn from it and to grow from it and to see, well, what is available to me? What can I do? Who can I be? If you love me so much over here and you don't want me because my experience isn't narrow enough, then where in the middle is the opportunity? And that's what I looked for. The same feedback I got all the time was that I was too much of a generalist. So I took what others saw as a weakness and I turned it into a strength. Now, I didn't get there by myself. I read this really great book called Range by David Epstein. And it was in this book that I discovered a full sentence. We've often heard you're a jack of all trades and master of none. The complete sentence is jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. And that's what led me to where I am today. That generalist perspective gives me a unique vantage point on the world. So that led me to writing, to, doing this YouTube thing, to consulting and coaching, because I'm coming in with a unique vantage point, with a unique set of experiences that the person with the more narrow experience just doesn't have. Organizations, companies, businesses need that outside perspective. A lot of you are struggling with your Gen Z employees. You don't know what to do with them. And here I come in saying, well, actually, I ran a nonprofit organization where I hired a lot of them. I worked as an adjunct professor, and therefore I taught a lot of them. I've mentored many of them. I come from a massive family. I'm talking 35 first cousins on both sides. I've spent so much time with this generation, reading about them, learning about them, studying them, that I get to come into your world and give you what you don't have. And one of the nice parts about consulting and coaching is I get to come in, drop in, say some words, and head right back out. See, this is the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Carol Dweck in her book talks about this idea of us getting stuck in tragedy. That sometimes we experience a bad thing, we go through 5 years of job hunting, and we think to ourselves, I am nothing, I have nothing, no one wants me, and this is just life. Or we go through 5 years of job hunting and we say, well, I guess I just got to go build my own thing. I have gifts, I have skills, I have abilities, I have people, and I'm going to bring all of that together to the best of my advantage. It's not a bad way to look at things. I want Gen Z to know that they can grow from life's pains, that whatever it is they're experiencing, whatever tragedy they faced, it does not have to be the end. It just doesn't. So much of life is about figuring things out. Like in the end, that is life. It is one big Rubik's Cube, one big piece of problem solving, and we get to do that together. And I emphasize that together because I didn't get to where I am by myself. None of us do. It was in my darkest, loneliest moments that my friends, my mentors, pulled me out. Especially those who are older than me, those who have walked the road that I've walked. It's those people who said to me, CJ, I've been here before, it is going to be okay. There was one guy I met in this journey. He was sweeping up outside of a church. And I guess I have a warm and inviting face because he and I just struck up a conversation. And, somehow we start getting to life's problems. And I'm telling him about what I'm experiencing. At this point, it was probably 3-4 years of job hunting. And he goes, he was probably in his 50s, 60s. He goes, I once spent 7 years looking for a job. 7. He goes, I lost everything. I had to sleep in this church basement that I'm sweeping up right now. That's how bad things got. And I don't ever want to use someone else's pain or tragedy to make me feel better about my position or what I'm going through. But he reminded me in that moment, he goes, you have a place to stay. You have a family. You have a loving wife. You have support around you. This is hard, but this will not be the end. We need those people in life. See, post-traumatic growth isn't about sitting in a silo and figuring things out on your own. It is about coming together in the context of community, friends, family, neighbors, and it's working through life together. If we grew on our own, we wouldn't need anyone else. But that's not how life works. Growth doesn't happen by default. It requires a certain level of active effort and reflection. Growth, like that effort and reflection, requires a certain level of resiliency that can be hard for us to have on our own. And that's why we need others. That's why we lean on others. There's one more thing I want us to take from this lesson about post-traumatic growth. It's the idea of being wounded versus healing and breaking the cycle of hurts. Sometimes we experience something so bad, so harmful. We say to ourselves, I am never going to be in that place again. We make a vow that we are never going to experience that. No one will ever have that kind of power over us again. No one will ever hurt us in that way again. Can I tell you, I've lived that. I got a job one time, and within 3 weeks of getting the job, it was Christmas Eve, I got a scathing email about how I wasn't performing up to standard, and this is ridiculous. Like it was a scathing and berating email about unmet expectations that had never been verbalized and not so vague threats about getting rid of me. I had really small kids at the time. And I remember sitting in that car thinking to myself, I will never be in this position again. I will never let anyone have that kind of power over me and my family. The problem with this is I'm now living from a place of woundedness and brokenness. I'm now living from a place of unhealed trauma and frustration. When we walk with that sort of wounded posture, we're walking through life on the defensive. We're walking through life with our guard up, ready to fight any and everybody who comes our way. And that is no way to live. But not only are we doing that, we're living in fear. Living from that place of woundedness means that we are living afraid of everything and everyone we come across. And we assign to people the mistakes of others. If you remind me of that person who hurt me, you are just now in that category. What do we miss out in those moments? Post-traumatic growth is largely about building the capacity for resilience, but it's also about healing. It's about being able to leave the past in the past. It's about being able to look at something that happened and say, yes, this happened. Yes, it was painful. Yes, it hurt. But yes, I am moving on. So Gen Z, if you're listening to this, leaders, mentors, advocates of Gen Z, if you're listening to this, let us all work toward a place of growth and healing. Because what we don't want to do is be that person living out of the wound, spilling that unhealed trauma onto everyone around us. But maybe you're listening to this and you're saying to yourself, CJ, I hear you, but I want to wallow in this. I just want to sit in it. I don't care about that whole growth thing because I'm never going to let this happen to me again. And I'm going to ruminate and I'm going to let my entire life be wrapped around this very thing because I like it, because it's better, because that whole growth thing seems too hard. And to you, I say, I hear you. What do I know? I'm just some guy from Brooklyn.